Welcome to Relationship Lounge Reveal and Heal podcast. I am Coach Debb. I'd like to announce to you, first of all, I am not a doctor. Of course, I am a pastor and a life coach, and we're going to talk about shame. I have statistics and different information that I have researched that I believe is going to be a benefit to us both. First of all, I'd like to share with you that shame from Wikipedia states, shame is an unpleasant self-conscious emotion, typically associated with a negative evaluation of the self, withdrawal motivations, and feelings of distress, exposure, mistrust, powerlessness, and worthlessness. I would say that applies to anyone that has actually dealt with shame. Shame is sometimes emotions that we don't have the words to express. Shame is a powerful emotion that can cause people to feel defective and unacceptable, even damaged beyond repair. Shame is not all bad because sometimes when we go through shame, it causes us to self-evaluate and to look at that situation because a lot of times shame comes from choices that we make. Did you know that shame is a universal emotion? Yes, it is. And even to the smallest children experience it. They might not be able to explain it, but they experience it. There's one particular toxic shame that I believe is the demon of them all. Toxic shame. It's not a normal shame. It's a damaging power that comes or that you experience because of trauma. It's a neurotic, irrational feeling of worthiness. It's humiliation, self-loathing, and paralyzing feelings that have been inflicted upon you because of possibly the traumatic experience. Could be molestation, it could be rape, it could be a number of different rooted situations or not. It doesn't always have to be from the root of being traumatized as a child. Did you know that shame is a soul-eating emotion? C.G. Jung said that. And let's just think about it for a moment. Whenever you have had to deal with shame, what is it that you thought about most of all? Did you feel the pressure of having to deal with that shame? Did you think about things that you would do to try and avoid further shame? Unresolved shame can lead to feelings of depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. That would be the things that you would hide and things that you decide that you don't want to talk about. That would be the things that you deny. You see, living with shame, regardless of the shame's source, can be a lonely and demoralizing experience. So it's very important that you meet shame head on, that you get to the very root of where the shame came from, and you deal with it. Because if you don't, then you're going to deal with other different factors, and it could become physical. Because when you start dealing with depression, when you start dealing with stress and anxiety and all those things, then they'll start affecting you physically. I want to share with you today from my research 8 strategies for overcoming shame and restoring self-esteem. I want you to bear with me, because what I want you to do is when it's all over, I want you to research and go back in and pull up yourself so that you can read more about the 8 strategies of overcoming shame. It entitles Overcoming Shame. So you can Google and you're able to go in yourself and read further about this, I believe that it will be helpful to you. So just look at number one, revisit your childhood. As painful as this might be, it's important to have a realistic understanding that shame is not your fault. You are an adult now with adult judgment and perspective. So you need to look at the small, innocent child you were and how incapable you were of understanding and processing the expectations and hurtful behaviors of your parents, even benign behaviors that were all well intentioned. Number two, recognize your triggers. Start to notice what triggers your feelings of shame. This may be difficult at first, as we often bear our feelings under layers of coping behaviors. So start with the behaviors, the way you react to pain, and then ask yourself, what just happened to make you react? Did someone say something to make you feel vulnerable? Were you rejected in some way that reminded you of a childhood rejection? Were you caught in looping thoughts about an event that feels shameful? You see, once you know what trips you up and mires you in feelings of shame, you can begin to manage the triggers and learn healthier responses. Number three, practice self-compassion. When you feel shamed, it's hard to be kind and loving toward yourself, but you can practice self-compassion even before you really feel it. Talk to yourself and treat yourself with the same kindness and love you show a good friend or beloved child. Pretend you are a cherished and valuable person until you begin to change your thoughts and feelings. Number four, challenge your thoughts. As I mentioned before, looping negative thoughts are often a trigger for shameful feelings. When you mentally revisit conversations or situations where you felt shamed, or if your thoughts are a series of self-criticism, you are only strengthening your shame. Your job is to weaken the grasp shame has over you, and you can do that by challenging your thoughts. Number five, don't double layer shame. No one likes feeling shame and the weak, unworthy feelings shame fosters. When we live with shame, we add to our pain by feeling shame about our shame. We are embarrassed that we aren't the confident, positive, happy people we want to be. Number six, avoid shame reinforcers. Are there still people in your life who reinforce your shame? It might be your parents who continue to say and do things to control, belittle, or hurt you. Sometimes our shame leads us to be in relationships with people who repeat the dynamics we experienced in childhood. Our spouses or partners, and even some friends might unconsciously or consciously reinforce our feelings of shame. You have a choice to be in relationships that are emotionally healthy. Number seven, accept loving kindness. The feelings of unworthiness attached to shame make it very difficult to accept love and kindness from others. In fact, you might even distrust people who are kind to you because they can't discern that you are really bad and unworthy. You feel like a charlatan accepting goodness from others. I'm sure you can see the dysfunction in this reaction to loving behavior from others, but you must teach yourself a new way of responding. When someone is kind to you, don't diminish their act by rejecting their kindness. Practice accepting it openly with gratitude. Accept compliments without deflecting or diminishing them. Now, finally, number eight, practice forgiveness. You may not really need forgiveness for anything, but it probably feels like you do. You want absolution for all of the badness that struts you. You want all of the shameful feelings to be washed away so you can finally feel good about yourself and enjoy your life. The only person who can really offer that absolution is you. You are God holding the key to your own internal prison. Whatever fallings or failings you might perceive in yourself, why not just give yourself a pass? Every person on the planet is flawed and has made mistakes. We all want and diverse forgiveness. This is part of the human condition that will never change. You see, the truth is all we got, even when it hurts. So it's important to face some things that might not feel good, but healing is a process. And in order to heal, you first got to get away from that place of denial. You just got to be honest with yourself. When you're honest with yourself, then you don't have a problem with being honest with others. But there's no healing for you. There's no healing for you whatsoever until you tell the truth to yourself. Start with loving yourself. And then love everybody and be an example. I'm Coach Debb. Thank you so much for tuning in to Relationship Lounge, Reveal and Heal.